All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Jeffrey Sauce here on the TVC podcast. I'm really excited here to have this guest who is a stellar professional with 20 years of experience in the military, especially in the Marine Corps. She also has federal experience as well, and she is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of a logistics company and the award-winning company you may have heard of called Gunny Gear. Her name is Julie Franco. Julie Franco, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you.
I'm really excited as well because I feel like I earned it too. I love that sweater. I love what you have on here.
Thank you.
And I feel like I'm really excited to dive in here because I need to gear up. And so I want to talk about real quick your background. Let's talk about where you grew up.
So I grew up in Bentonville, Illinois, which is about we're the town over next to O'Hare Airport, about 25, 30 minutes from downtown Chicago.
Okay. And your family, are they originally also from Chicago?
No, I am proud to say that I am Mexican American. My mom and my dad were both born in Michoacan, Mexico, and I was born here with my siblings.
That's awesome. And I love that immigrant story, and my parents as well. My father is also an immigrant. So high school, how was that? Did you play sports? What'd you do?
So listen, you know, we didn't have all this funds growing up. So even though I wanted to play these sports, to make matters worse, I'm an identical twin sister. So it's not like you're going to buy, the sport gear for not just one, it's two. And so the only thing that we could really afford to do was run. So I did cross country and track.
Okay. And so since you had twin sisters, like the days you were sick is what you're telling me. You had her come in, right? So that way she can run for you.
When we were kids, we were inseparable. Like inseparable. You would have both of us always together. If one was sick, the other one was sick. It was just, and it wasn't like skipping out on school. It was just a twin thing that we've always experienced. It's great.
Oh, so when twins get sick, they get sick together. That is good to know. So, uh,
Yes.
interesting. So I'm curious. I always tell people, why did they join the military? Some people have an interesting story. For me, it was 9/11 when I was in middle school. That left an imprint on me. It was a dark, gloomy day. And so, 6 years later in 2007, despite my father, who did not want to sign for me, as soon as I turned 18, I went to the Marine Corps. My father was against the
Wow.
military, but it's weird because he was also in the reserves in Mexico. So I don't know why he was so against it, but after a while, I think I bought him onto it. So for me, that was my kind of I'm going to join the military because there's really nothing else to do in Fresno, growing up in a blue collar neighborhood. So for me, I think that was probably the best choice at the time. But I'd like to hear your stories. Like, what made you decide to join the Marine Corps?
Well, we have to be a little bit crazy, right? And we have to own it. Actually, ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to join the military. And it started with a book. I went to middle school and we went to the library and we had to pull books for a book report. And I was drawn to a Marine Corps book. At the time I didn't know the difference between the military branches because I don't have anybody in my family that was in the military. So I pulled the book and I saw through the pages that there was a Marine running with a German Shepherd and his M16 slung behind his back. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. Um, and then my brother, who's 4 years older than me, he actually went to Marine Corps boot camp. He came back as a civilian, but I remember we picked him up from the Greyhound station, and I was 14 years old at the time. And he was like, they treat you worse than that. And I was 14. I'm like, oh my God, tell me more. So I actually had already enlisted into the Marine Corps boot camp when 9/11 happened. My brother came home and he's like, don't go, you don't have to do it. You can still back out. And I was like, are you kidding me? Now they're really going to take me. So I was excited and I went. My dad actually did sign for me to join the Marines when I was 17 years old. Um, but he thought I was never going to graduate as a Marine. So joke's on you. I did it.
That's right. Oh, and at least he was somehow a little bit of supportive and not so supportive of you. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." I always love that when people say, You can't do it. Oh, okay. Just watch me, right? But
Watch
that's
me.
awesome.
Exactly. Yes.
So you graduated. You had a stellar career in the Marine Corps. Was there any specific experiences that you learned in your military service that you take with you today? Was it a leadership, or was it some type of operation you did? Like, what are some of the traits and skill sets that you learned in the service?
Um, I will say that I was fortunate that I did work with a lot of great leaderships that became my mentors. There's one, at the time, he was Master Sergeant Robinson, and I remember how poised he was, how professional he was. And even though things were thrown at him, for being different, um, he always stood like a true professional. And I always admired that from him. He carried fairness across the board. He didn't care what you look like or the rank. He was always about being fair. And that to me, like, was something super important to hold. I also had another master sergeant who was obsessed with being on time. So if you were, 15 minutes early, you're already late. So I kind of still carry that with me, but most importantly, it was about taking care of the rest of the troops. I remember when I found out I was selected as a gunnery sergeant, I've never really chased rank. The only thing I ever chased was knowledge. I love knowledge. So when I found out I was being selected, my sister's like, "Congratulations, that means more money." I'm like, "It's not about the money. That means more responsibilities. That means making sure that my troops are taken care of, making sure that everybody comes home, that they have what they need to be successful." And that's something that now I carry into the industries that I'm working in.
And again, not being braggadocio here, but I think it's very important the couple things that you just mentioned, and why if you're a business leader or you a corporate leader or government leader, it's really important that you have the best interests of your people, and
Yeah.
that you are firm, fair, and balanced on how you interact
Yes.
with them. And I think those are really great traits that you demonstrated right there from the service. Punctuality is something I'm big on all the time. It's has not left me. And General Yala one time, retired Marine General Yala, and he had told me, he's like, you just have to get used to it, right? Civilians being like 30 minutes late,
Yeah.
and you want to yell at them or take out a knife hand, and you can't do that because HR might want to talk to you. Why are you making hand motions at them or gang signs? And it's one of those where it's really tough. But I love how at least you equated that, and I'm sure that's helped you in your success in the
Yes.
civilian and business world. And I love that. And I think it's really important for people to understand that military and the civilian counterparts, we both can help each other. So if you're a civilian on
Yes.
the outside, it would be great for you to be a champion for people in the military, because a lot of them go on to found a lot of Fortune 500 companies. They can run your company. Veterans have great skill sets, and Julie here has demonstrated that. But I do want to get into, I think, something that a lot of people can inspire you. Like I said, I was creeping a little bit on your previous podcast. I heard a David and Goliath moment that you had, where I heard that your M4 might have been a little bit, almost your size. And is there a particular story around that you kind of want to share as far as resilience and why you are who you are today?
Um, one thing too is, and I never really actually had this word in my vocabulary, but a lot of people have used the word grit to describe me. So I kind of started diving deep in exactly what that meant. And I guess I could understand now. Listen, I am Mexican American, right? So I still have that humble in me that I'm trying to work through. But the reality is that in order to continue to do anything, and especially, like I'm sure you heard, I was 88 pounds when I went to boot camp. Um, I needed to have grit. I needed to have resilience. And most importantly, I needed to remember why I was doing what I was doing. Um, yeah, the M16 touched like underneath my knees every time I was hiking. It wasn't the right size for me. When I picked up staff and I got the M4, I was like, okay, finally a shorter rifle for me. So it was kind of like, those little things, those small wins. But it's just about adapting. things are going to happen to us no matter what we're doing, no matter if you're in uniform or out of uniform. It's about the resilience of actually pushing forward. My brother, who's my business partner, I always tell him, listen, stop running away from the storm, just run through it. Because at the end of the day, once you get through that storm, you never know, there might be a rainbow.
I love that. And for those of you that are going to be listening to this, I think what you just said is she had this internal locus of control versus some external locus of control. She believed in herself more than some people believed in her, whether she was going to make it in boot camp. And it's important for you to have that internal
Yes.
dialogue that is positive. And I'm sure you had to have some internal dialogue that's positive, but some people also challenge you with some reverse psychology. But I love how this is a great lesson for if you're a business leader out there, that no matter how big the tool you're carrying, or no matter how big the opponent is, you can always find a way to overcome that. But you have to believe, you have to have a strong why. And it's great that you got your family also involved in your business. And I think that's an amazing thing that I want to dive into. Now, let's talk a little about transition. I believe the transition has improved from the Vietnam era to Gulf War to today. I think there's a lot of more benefits and resources available for veterans. What was
Mhm.
your transition story? And I say this not just for military and civilians, but I've heard an athlete one time who also talked about his transition from being athlete to post-athlete. He had to find a way to rediscover himself and his identity, because a lot of times we get sweet when we hang up the uniform. We don't identify
Yeah.
ourselves with staff sergeant or captain such and such anymore. Now it's Julie Franco, Jeffrey Rosales,
Yes.
and I think that is a period of discovery for us. So I mean, walk us through it. Tell us what your transition was like.
So my transition actually was extremely difficult for me, extremely difficult mentally. I know, like you said, we all experience our transitions, and it is very difficult to go from gunnery sergeant and you're in charge of these missions and all this, whatever you have going on, into going back into civilian and starting over pretty much from the bottom and working your way back up. Um, when I got injured and I tore my ligaments and my tendon on my right ankle, and after two unsuccessful surgeries, um, we were talking about amputation, right? Of course, nobody wants that. Um, and during that time, it was time for me to re-enlist. So I fell off contract, and I had somebody call me. And as my foot is up in a boot, getting, recovering from the second surgery, I was called to say, hey, I'm looking for Gunny Sergeant Franco. Like, I'm here. What can I help you with? We're helping you with your transition. And I'm like, where am I going? And they're like, what do you mean, where are you going? You're going to be a civilian in 4 days. And I'm like, excuse me, what? I had no time to go from being a Marine to figuring out how to navigate being a civilian. So that was so mentally challenging. I fell in a horrible, horrible, dark depression. This is the first time I'm actually talking about it publicly. It was scary. It was sad. It was hurtful. Um, and what was I going to be next? I only knew gunnery sergeant Marines. And even though I was a reservist and I was a civilian at the time, that pride that we earn, right? What do you do with it? Um, but I did go, and with all these resources that we do have now, right? The vet center saved my life. I I realized, and one thing I would like for people to and veterans to understand, it's okay to need help, and it's okay to go get it. It is there for us. Use it. Save your life. Help save a buddy's life. And that helped me start continuing to remember my purpose, to remember why I do things. Um, and yeah, then I started working on myself, and I did the assignment. And I took it serious, and I realized my kids need me, and I'm not done in this world. So now I'm back. I'm excited. I'm motivated, and I want others to know that if I can do it, you can do it too.
Powerful. That is a very powerful statement here, and I hope people really listen in to what she's saying. She went through a mental, physical, emotional period of discovery, and she found out because a lot of times we lose purpose, and that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing is purpose that we do. And it sounds like you have found a renewed sense of purpose. Now, one of the things I think, and I talked with my roommate, right, he's a fellow Marine as well. Him and I served together. Um, the battle buddy program. We think it was very important when you join the service, but then when you get out, is there a battle buddy program out there? Like, well, how can we reinvigorate that? Because I feel like that also helps with transition. Were there any battle buddies or mentors or people that called you up day to day just to check in on you, making sure you got your things squared away?
Um, it took a while. And during those very, very difficult time, I got so fortunate to find actually Staff Sergeant Towell found me. He was helping me finish and navigate this horrible, dark, angry period of my life, and he stuck it out. So Staff Sergeant Towell, if you're out there, we actually still keep in contact. And you know what was crazy is that he helped me during those dark times, and I was able to return that favor when he had to go through his transition. So now we're just, we're forever bonded. And he knows if he needs anything, I could call on him. And, if I need anything, I could call on him. So it just, it's just finding that one person and then, just being open and honest about things and then keep moving.
No, I love that. Honesty, transparency, authenticity, and asking for help. I will self-report here. I finally started my VA claims process after 13 years, which it took a lot of Marines yelling at me, and it's finally, it's finally got through my hard head. And so I think it's all, it's great that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to do that.
Hmm.
And in fact, it's actually a sign that you're willing to grow and you're coachable. I think that's
Hmm.
we need to take away is being coachable so people can invest in you and not waste their time.
Yes. Yes. And remember, at the end of the day, what happened? You earned it.
That's right. That's right. And I want to get into that. So, okay, transition, that's great. So let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about the civilian experience. Sounds like you did some amazing things for in the government, especially in the VA, helping veterans. What was that period of your life like, and are there any lessons learned?
Lesson learned is take the time to listen. That's the biggest one. As veterans, it's hard for us to just go walk into a VA clinic, right? If you have a veteran, if you're in that position. So when I worked at the VA, I was the person that helped register the veterans for eligibility. Um, and to me, they are my brothers and my sisters. I don't care what branch you served in or what you did. You came to my desk, I'm going to treat you like what you are, the veteran. Um, a lot of people just take their applications and forget about it. No, they earned it. They deserve the respect. So take your time. My favorite story is when I had a World War II veteran come to my desk. Such an amazing veteran. And he came and he was so cute with his hearing aids and said, "Hey, I heard I could get a new set of batteries for these hearing aids." And I'm like, "Okay, sir, what can I help you with? Let's start with registration and let's see what you're eligible for." He gave me this DD-214 that was turning yellow, and it was so perfectly like it looked like it was never opened. And then I opened and I saw the medals, what he did, and he was a pilot and he only wanted batteries. So I was like, you know what, sir, give me a few minutes. I registered him. As soon as I was done, I took him upstairs for his benefits. And I'm like, you're going to get more than batteries, sir. You're going to get brand new hearing aids and all the benefits that you left on the table. So yeah, if you're in those positions, please take your time, listen to them, um, and let them help them navigate that system because it's not an easy one, right? But if you're in that position, do your job, enjoy it.
I love that. I love that you push up and you pull up. You pull people up with you. A lot of people talk about successes, being lonely and being the only one at the top. Well, pull people up with you. Give them that opportunity, and you do that. You demonstrated that, Julian, and that's what I love about being a selfless a leader. If people want to, there's always a saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people, go with your
Yeah.
team. And I love how you think that way. You think about building an empire, which I'm really excited to get into, and what you're doing as a serial entrepreneur. Let's first start with your trucking and logistics business, and before we get there,
Yes.
why did you make a pivot to entrepreneurship?
I oh, when I was 17 years old, I already knew what my life goals were, which is insane when I think about it. 17 years old, I knew that I wanted to get a college degree. I wanted to buy a house. I was going to be a Marine. And one day I would work for myself. And part of that business or the college degree was either interior design or business management. So when I got out of the Marines, the first class I took was interior design 101, and I failed.
Sure, like that's it.
Can't be
Yep,
great
I'm
at
not doing
everything.
that. All right, there goes my interior design career.
At the moment, right? So I was like, okay, but I knew I always like to think the backup plan. And my backup plan was business management. So I went and I did business management. So I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But when I went to business school, I found out you had to work 60 to 70 hours to start off your business and you weren't going to get paid. And I'm like, wait, what? So I went and I got a federal job instead. And I put the entrepreneur in the back burner for a little bit, but it was always itching on me, always itching on me. And my brother and I would always joke around for 10 years that we would work together. We would go to family events and he's like, "Oh, that's my boss. That's my boss." I'm like, "Dude, stop telling people this. I'm not your boss." But I am now. So yeah.
I love that. So, how important is it for someone to have, especially at a young age, 18, to have a life roadmap, right? And I always tell people, it's like, if you don't have a life roadmap or a vision for your life, someone else is going to have one for you, and it's going to be this
Yeah.
small. They're going to put you in a little corner, going to put you in a cubicle. They're not going to put you or see something in you unless it's a good mentor and advisor. Because a lot of people are good at identifying talent, right? Which is what mentors
Yeah.
do. Um, but how important is it to have a roadmap for your life? And this goes for anyone at all ages, but I'm curious. I'd like to get your thoughts on that because that's something I stress on people. I always tell people to take what's called the wheel of life. It's a
Okay.
very simple exercise, and you can rate yourself from your relationship, marriage, finance. Just take it. You can Google it, but it helps people identify their gaps in their life and then how they can build their own roadmap. But it sounds like you already had that, right? Talk about how important that is.
I think it's instrumental. It's super important. You need to have some sort of vision. Um, like I tell people all the time, and listen, I'm a Marine, right? So I still go back to Marine analogy in the sense of know your target, make a target. If you have a target and you know what you're aiming at, you're most likely going to hit it. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to hit it. So I think it's extremely important. Listen, always, I'm a big dreamer. I'm a Pisces. So I'm a big dreamer. Dream big. And then the best part about us is that we are in the United States of America, right? We're built on dreams. So if other people can do it, why can't you? If we think about certain things like, hey, listen, we all have 24 hours. It's what we do with those 24 hours that make a difference. So have that vision, have that roadmap, and it's okay to change it. It's always okay to change it. It's not going to look like I said, yes, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't go from college to launch my first business. I went to college and then I worked for the VA. Then I worked for the FAA. And the FAA is definitely where I started seeing the potential for myself to actually go into business and, do something that I love. When I got hired on with the FAA, I was actually part of the administration for the construction portion and I loved it. The thing is, you have a project and you're starting the project right when it's a thought. And then from there, it goes on paper. And then it goes through the stages until you actually create a building, a highway, or whatever it is that you're working on. So definitely always have a roadmap. Feel free to change it. Nobody said that you have to do everything. Like I tell people, I didn't know how to fire a weapon before I went to the Marines. I never held a weapon. But guess what? Took the course, I went to boot camp, I learned the knowledge, I applied them. I'm an expert. No. So it's the same thing applied in life.
And I do have to make a note of this because I think I'm gonna have to add it to my vocabulary and vernacular. She just said marineology, so I guess that's a new one for me that I'm gonna have to start to apply. But I love it because we use a lot of terms, right? And she was talking about hitting the target, how important that is. If you're a business leader, you know your target can be getting market share, or growing your staff, or adding a new product line, and it's important for you as a business leader, or if you're a corporate leader, how you're going to grow your division, or how you're going to grow your staffing, or you want to expand into another country. All of these are
Yeah.
very applicable to do that. But also as a leader, I'm very big. I think personal development is something very important. I think you can take that anywhere with you, regardless of business, regardless of corporation or
Yeah.
government. What are some things that you're doing to level up? You said you're a big believer of knowledge, and I have to admit, I did not read a book until I got to the Marine Corps, until I saw these nerds that are around me that are Marines, and they started reading books. I'm like, okay, I guess maybe I should start reading a book too. So I barely passed high school, and the reason why I almost failed one of the hardest courses in high school, which was teacher's assistant. I never went to become his assistant in senior year, and the only reason why he passed me was he found out I was going to the Marine Corps. That's the only reason why he passed me. So, thank you to my PE teacher in my senior year. But I think it's very important for us to continue to level up. I mean, I always have books around me. Today, I don't have a book around me, but I do read books. But I'm curious to
Yeah.
know what is on your nightstand.
Um, I do like a lot of motivational inspiration books. My twin actually connected me to Terry Saville Floyd. She is a minister from Crowley, Texas, which is where I live half of my life now. And it's just about dreaming big. It's about daring to dream big, and actually putting the vision into motion. You start with the vision board, like I said, build that target. Start with the vision board. Um, you write what your goals are and you just go after it. And it's about how you speak to yourself. You manifest what you're speaking. So don't be ugly on yourself. And it's hard for us, I know, right? Um, I am a very honest person. You should be honest with yourself, but also be kind. And I remember one year, Hector, my brother, and I, we went to Washington, D.C. I was invited to give a speech at the United States Department of Transportation. So we went, I did it. Thank you, Jesus. It was hard because I'm not a public speaker. At the time, I wasn't. And I went. And then after that, we went and took a picture at the White House. And I told my brother, I'm like, hey, stand here. I'm going to take a picture of you. And then I'm like, now take a picture of me. I'm like, just so you know, these pictures are to put on the vision board target, because you and I are going to be on the other side of the fence one day. And he's like, are you freaking crazy? Why? How? And I'm like, that's not for you to question. Just believe it, manifest it, think about it, be positive and be kind, and tell yourself that you can do it. You you've earned being there, and take that seat at the table. So guess what happened the next year? I got invited to be a part of the SBA roundtable with another amazing, I think it was like maybe 15 other entrepreneurs. And when I walked into the White House, into that office, I couldn't believe that my name was on the table. But it was because I was kind, I manifested, and then I read the books, I did the assignment. Dean Graziosi is another one that I do love, because he's very open and honest about being dyslexic. Again, I don't know how you're doing this, but I'm going to be honest. I'm dyslexic. So hard for me to have graduated high school without being diagnosed. People didn't know what was wrong with me. Like you said, barely passed. Going to college is when I got discovered. It's when I found out that I was dyslexic, and it was so hard for me to finish. But I did it. Um, and of course, we have David Goggins, right? Can't hurt me. So I those words hit hard. I listen to them. When I go running, I don't listen to a lot of the music as much anymore. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. because it's about maximizing your time, right? So I'll listen to those motivational speakers, those audiobooks. And I remember I was running one time and I wanted to give up and I just wanted to quit. But I was in this portion of the book with David Goggins is telling me, or his book is telling me that, his feet are hurting, there's blood everywhere and stuff, and he wanted to quit, but he never did. So I ran my first half marathon.
So that's what I'm talking about. And you're going to run the Marine Corps Marathon with me. I'm going to personally declare it now. I have not done it yet. It's on my bucket list, but you're going to run it with me because I need to knock it out. I have not done
Let's do
it.
it.
I have to admit that. Let's definitely make it happen. You said a couple things,
Challenge
and I think it's very.
accepted.
Let's do it. We're done. It's happening. I'm manifesting it right now. It's gonna happen. Not a big deal.
Okay.
Easy. So you said a couple things, and I want people to take one thing. There's this thing called Proverbs 18:21, and it says, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue." So how we speak to ourselves, to your point, is very, very key, and that's why you got to have that internal self locus of control, so you can speak to yourself and manifest
Yeah.
that. I think those things have been with you for so long in your child, or at least in your childhood or your teens, that they've now finally manifested. It may not have been like next day I'm going to be the SBA roundtable, but it's always been inside here or on the vision board. And I think that's very powerful that you created that reminder. And of course, Goggins is definitely a motivator, but also walking by faith. Entrepreneurship is a
Yes.
faith walk that you have to do every single day, no matter if you don't make any sales in the first couple of years. You have to continue to believe, right? And there's a good book that I'm going to give to you and then a lot of other people at the upcoming trade show, which I'm going to announce in a little bit once we get to Gunny Gear. But he has
Okay.
a book called Marines Don't Cry, and he's
Oh,
a Vietnam Marine. He talks about his journey, how he walked from after Vietnam from San Francisco to TJ because he got divorced and he wanted to get hit by a truck. And he said, you know what, I'm just going to walk. I'm going to see. And he ends up walking from all the way to TJ, from San Francisco, TJ to New York, and he's walked 26,000 miles all over the world. He's 80 years old.
wow.
He's a pastor. He's married to Lieutenant Colonel, retired Lieutenant Colonel. His wife's retired Lieutenant Colonel. I'm like, how'd you land that? He got out as a sergeant in the Marines in Vietnam. So I'm taking notes. He's definitely giving some pointers on how I can get my next Lieutenant Colonel wife. Um, but he talks about how important faith is in his life, but I think it's very applicable to business because there's going to be a lot of challenges that we end up running into every single day. So I love that you mentioned that. Now I want to talk about, the best part is your business, gearing up. I love what Gunny Gear stands for, but I want to talk about the origin story. Is it because of that failure? You failed your interior design 101 class? Like, what happened? Like, how did you get to Gunny Gear and this amazing award-winning military inspired clothing brand?
So Gunny Gear actually started 23 years ago. Little did I know that it was going to be from 88 pounds. When I went to boot camp, I had to get a waiver because I was underage. Dad signed, and then I had to get a waiver because I was underweight. Um, but that wasn't going to stop me. It was just an obstacle, and we get over those, so it's not a big deal. I kept pushing through, and finally, I actually got injured in boot camp. So instead of 3 months, it took me 5. But it was because I pushed through, guys. It was because I was recovering. Um, and then finally, when I graduated boot camp, what's the first thing you do when you graduate college or you graduate boot camp? You go to the exchange to go purchase that shirt that represented you for all that hard work, that sacrifice, and everything you did. I get there and there's nothing in my size, nothing that represented me. Again, I was so small. They don't have a lot of extra small or small apparel for smaller um, Marines. And I waited and I waited and I waited for years and years. And my vision, I've always envisioned, and I'm working towards it and I'm going to manifest it. My vision has always been to go into an exchange store and have a wall full of apparel that actually fit, that represented being a woman. So, yes, I want those pink colors, a light blue, um, anything that's super feminine, yes. But I also like black. I am still a Marine. Um, but I want to go into a Marine Corps exchange and find something that represented the hard work it took to get where we're at. And I kept it for 23 years and I waited for somebody to create something and it never happened. And it never happened. And then I post a lot because of Franco Hauling. I posted that I was really, really tired and the only thing I wanted to do was be on the couch and watch TV with my kids. But instead, I took a 10-minute power nap in the car and then I got my butt back inside to the SBA classes for an entrepreneur to become a better entrepreneur, to learn about finances, to learn about capital and all that good stuff, because that's part of my job. So I went and I took the class, and that led into somebody saying, keep motivating and inspiring us. My honest response was like, sir, I'm just trying to keep it together. That led into, is there anything I can do to help? And I'm like, well, just our curiosity. When are we going to do something for our women in the military? It's like, do you have something up? You have something up your sleeve, don't you? I'm like, it's been something for 23 years. So that gave me the motivation and the push that yes, there was something that was lacking. Um, we're celebrating 250 years, right, of the United States this year, and there's still nothing out there that was that has focus on us women. And believe it or not, women are actually relisting 4 to 5% faster than males are. So why not have something for them? So I decided, why not me? I have the personal experience. I know what it feels like. I know what we're missing. What I don't know is exactly how it's going to look at the end of all of this, but I do know that there's grit, there's resilience, there's determination, and most importantly, there's people that understand why this is happening, that support it. And like I tell everybody, you don't have to be a Marine, you don't have to be a gunnery sergeant. You just have to continue to support our military. It doesn't matter what branch it is. Right now, we need it more than ever.
And I love it. And I've seen the designs, I've seen the logos, but more importantly, the origin story. I mean, this is an extension of Julie and her Marine Corps career. But I mean, again, it's been for 23 years. And she finally made it happen because she says, always use that Travis Mannion slogan is, if not me, then who? And
Right?
Julie did that. And that says a lot about what you're doing. And I'm looking at picking up one at this upcoming trade show to do that. But if you're not going to attend the trade show and you want to purchase a copy or purchase some Gunny Gear brand, you can scan this QR code. That's to my left if you're looking at me, or you can look down there at gunnygear.com. Please purchase it. By the way, I did just hear in the back say that she is going to give a part of the proceeds of sales to veterans in need, which that says a lot about her and her values. So it's not just about the business for her, it's about giving back to the community. And I think both of those things are both integrated here. So I'm looking to pick up a copy of that, a copy of Gunny Gear. And by the way, I think I just manifested a Freudian slip for you because you were mentioning Goggins earlier. I'm ready to hear your book when it comes out in a couple weeks, whenever you make it happen. I want to see a book by Julie Franco. And it's going to be
And
amazing.
I'm gonna intersect really quick and ask why. I just want to know why. Why would you like to read a book about me? Just curious.
Because I think it's phenomenal. Not everybody's 88 pounds and joins one of the toughest branches of the Marine Corps. Like that is not easy to do that. And you said you earned it, but also the challenges you might have went through. I can imagine what you've went through in your life, and so um, thank you for asking that. And it's very important for me why I encourage everybody. I encourage a lot of people. I encourage a general. I encourage some colonels. I encourage a lot of people, but all walks of life, because this is what your children are going to read in the future. If we just have the same
Yes.
books that they've been reading that you named, nothing against those authors, but I want to see more legacy passed down to our children and our children's children. They might remember you by Gunny
Yes.
Gear, but they're also going to remember you by the lessons you just displayed. And you told me right now your resilience, 88 pounds, 23 years manifestation. You failed your interior design class, but you still made an interior design type of graphic, clothing company. That's
Yeah.
a lot about you, right? You're scared to talk, but you gave a speech anyway. Like you did it anyway. So, your
Yeah.
children are going to learn from that, but also what you're doing, also, like you said, for females in the military. You made a great point. Females are going to be a larger part of the military going forward, and they're also going to be veterans, a lot of women veterans. They're going to be that. So we have to adapt a little bit to our
Yeah.
sisters in arms. And so I love how you saw a gap in the market and you set your sights on that target and you're going to hit black. I just know that, right? Now you got me speaking marinology over here
Thank
to
you.
do that. So, but you definitely should. I'm going to challenge you. Like I said, we're going to do the Marine Corps Marathon together, but I'm going to challenge you to write a book. And I think it's going to be phenomenal. And I look forward to hearing more about it. But I know we're definitely getting very close to time. I did kind of tease you guys a little bit with the trade show, and I'm going to get to it just in a second. But Julie, I want to hear from you is your perseverance, your story. What are some things you want to share for a veteran who's transitioning, a veteran who wants to start a business, or just anyone in general that is facing challenges in life or in society? What would you say to them today?
Two things. Be kind to yourself. And the second, do it afraid. Do it afraid. You're not going to get it right. The truth is, you're not going to get it right the first time. You're not going to get it right the second time. But that doesn't mean that like you said earlier, yes, I failed interior design. But you know what? Now I'm taking the knowledge that I did obtain and created something different. And I'm living out those dreams differently. But I did it afraid. I was afraid to launch Gunny Gear. It's it's a women inspired clothing brand. It's a military inspired clothing brand through a woman's perspective. And I was just afraid of doing it because it hasn't been done. But I'm so grateful that I did it. So I actually started Gunny Gear in October. So it actually has been a year, but I didn't launch it until March 8th, which is Women International Day. I did it that intentionally, and I'm just so grateful. And I'm going to be, this is the first time I'm going to give myself credit and say, congratulations, Julie, for doing it afraid, because I'm opening and giving hopes to others that you can do anything and everything as long as you put in that hard work and stay positive and focused.
Well, I'm going to give you congratulations as well. I'm proud of you, sister. I'm proud of what you're doing, and you are an
Thank you.
inspiration. You're doing some amazing things. You're going to write a book. You're going to run the Marine Corps Marathon with me. And I'm just very proud of you. Everything that you've done.
Thank you.
You are the embodiment of what an American is. You are an embodiment of what a Marine is. You're an embodiment of the values that stem from your family and the legacy that you guys are leaving behind. And I look forward to seeing you
Thank you.
14th annual Veterans and Small Business Trade Show. That's going to be happening in Moreno Valley on 16 October. We will be giving Julie Franco a Skin in the Game award for what she has just demonstrated and said. Not just because of Gunny Gear, not just because of Franco Hauling, but because she was 88 pounds and carried a rifle, and a lot of people didn't think she was going to make it through boot camp.
Yeah.
How many people that are 88 pounds are going to say, I'm going to make it through the Marine, one of the toughest boot camps in the Marine in the world? Not many people say that. That says a lot about her. And you're going to have an opportunity to purchase Gunny Gear on site with Julie Franco, Marine Corps veteran,
I'm so
the founder
excited.
of Gunny Gear. And by the way, I will be the MC. I just found that out, right? Marines Adapt and Overcome, in addition to being the keynote speaker. And another Marine friend of mine is also going to be the co-MC. If you have not registered, you can scan another QR code to my left, or you can go down to the link below. And it's founded by a Marine. Like I said, last year we talked about crypto. We had another Marine that was part of a company called Coinbase, very popular in the financial technology space. This year we're going to be talking about AI, how it relates to humanities. We're going to have the state of California there to talk about government contracting, government innovation. We're going to have the mayor of Moreno Valley there. We're going to have the color guard there. We're going to have other business leaders that are going to be joining us to talk how we can give opportunities to veterans, military spouses, and civilians as well. I think this is going to be one of the most powerful gatherings of 2025, and you are not going to want to miss it. Julie's going to be there. I'm going to be there. The founder of the trade show is going to be there, Albert Renteria, a retired chief warrant officer of the Marine Corps. And he has this, what's called a 100-year plan. And his 100-year plan goes like this. It says, I don't care how much money I'm going to have in the bank account. I don't care how much material possession I'm going to care about. But my mission is to make sure that I made a difference in a child's life, just like what Julie is doing today with her family and her legacy and her brother, who's going to join us, by the way, which is going to be pretty awesome, aka her business partner. So I want to thank you all again for joining us here today. Julie, it was an honor, and I look forward to seeing you next week at the 14th Annual Veterans and Small Business Trade Show. This is Jeff Rosales, signing out.